All right, everyone. It must be Friday because it's time for another Q&A with Alan and Marshall, and I'm Marshall Atkinson, but this is not Alan Howe. So Alan had something come up. So Richard, our good friend Richard Greaves, has graciously come in as the relief pitcher today to save the day. So how you doing today, Richard?
I'm doing terrific. It's mighty cold. I got my sweater on. Can't light a fire in this fireplace because it's a green screen fireplace.
Yeah, what a great looking living room we have.
It's StreamYard. I don't have a lot of Zoom screens set up for StreamYard.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks so much for joining us today, everyone. We really appreciate you, and we're going to have a really good discussion. We've got some really good topics, but today is just like every time here. This is a Q&A show, and we really want you to ask your questions so we can give you our answers. That's how it works. So in the comments section, please, if you've got a second, just let us know who you are and where you're watching from. But that's how you ask the questions. And both Richard and I are happy to answer anything that you ask. So I don't know if you'll like our answers, but we'll certainly give you one. And but anyway, so please do that. Also, if you could take a half a second and share that you're watching the show, that really helps us drive more numbers and also get more people interested. So we would really always appreciate that. So anyway, so Richard, how are you doing today? What have you been up to lately?
I've been definitely busy with trying to rebuild my office, but also I've got regular clients that I'm dealing with on a regular basis. Rebuilding a factory right here in Michigan, and I've gotten 2 boxes in the last 10 days. I've gotten 60 pounds of old impressions and screen printing magazines, which I've been cataloging and cutting the spines off and scanning on my my automatic scanners. So
yeah,
anybody who got those old magazines you want to get rid of, if you want them?
I can just see you like this, like come to Papa.
It's like playing with my baseball cards when I'm 8 years old.
Yeah.
The ones that I got from Alabama from Vulcan Binder, they were old. They were from the 60s and 70s. The ones that I got from Kelly Fleming were mostly impressions magazines from the 90s. But still, that's when the magazine used to be 180 pages thick.
I know.
And you had 6 or 7 technical articles in every issue. Real gold.
Yeah, and that's great. That's great. And would love to see some of those. That's fantastic. So let's say hey to some folks that are good enough to say hello to us. So Scott's watching from Florida. Good seeing you, Scott. And I'm really anxious to talk to you later today. I saw your email this morning, so I think it's going to be a good discussion with you. William Mitchell Studios here. So how you doing today, William? Good to see you. Hey, y'all. Josh is here. Good morning, fellas, from Oklahoma.
Morning,
Ghost is here as usual from Sweden. Good seeing you, pal.
Ghost.
And Chris is here from Saskatchewan. Good morning,
He's
gentlemen.
printing with nuclear waste these days, it looks like.
It looks just like that. It does look like nuclear waste.
I watched the Chernobyl show on HBO last week. All 6 episodes, so it's on my mind.
Oh, I didn't watch that. Was it good?
The last episode is fantastic. Otherwise, it's 3 or 5 episodes of build up, and then the big one is the last episode. But I enjoyed watching it. Yes.
Yeah, good. So Dean's here. Hey. Another week in the books. This seemed to be picking up around here. The first 2 months of the year are always so damn slow to get into gear. Understand that. And then William says the 90s impressions mags were super. Chernobyl was incredibly good. And Hurley is crying or crying and laughing emoji, whatever that's supposed to mean. So, all right, cool. So, what do you say we run our GSG commercial and pay some bills, and then we'll get into some discussion.
I've got my dancing shoes on.
Well, here we go.
GSG, the combination of over half a century of knowledge with industry-leading technology and the customer at the center of everything that we do. Graphic Solutions Group is a powerhouse distributor of traditional screen, sign, wide format digital printing, embroidery, and textile decorating. We are committed to our customers, providing support, educational, and consulting services. Your success is our success. We've seen these industries grow and change in our 70 years. One thing never changes: GSG's dedication providing the best products and services available. We've been around, we'll be around, from the highs and the lows, standing right here with you. GSG, the right products, right away.
That's great. I always like watching that. I'm always fascinated by the people doing things like that. So, all right, cool. So, you ready for our first topic, Richard?
I'm ready.
So, this is an audience participation one. And because Valentine's Day was this week, and hopefully you celebrated that with somebody. And so we thought it'd be interesting to talk about, what do you love about this industry? And we would love it if you guys put your comments in about what you guys love. What do you love? It can be really anything, but we want to know what you love. And so I think that would be kind of a fun discussion. So let's start with you, Richard. What do you love about this industry?
What I loved in the earliest days was the magic of a blank surface, and then you did something and there was an image, a perfect image, whether it was a big block lettering that said Wisconsin, or something intricate like a super halftone that just defines an entire motorcycle. That it was magic. As a boy, my mother and I were madly in love with rubber stamps. We had lots of rubber stamps, and in the old days when we used to send out mail, that everything that I sent had a rubber stamp on it. Funny envelopes were part of it, and so there's a creative function even for non-creatives like me. I'm a critic. I very rarely come up with brand new ideas. I'm an accumulator. I'm a librarian, but the idea that screen printing creates something or reproduces it, there's just some magic about printing. Now, I don't know if that's what you really looked for. I know that in the words of the great Rick Roth, that he said something like Lily Tomlin said, that he wanted to go into something, and he went into screen printing. He should have gone into something that paid better.
Well, let me tell you,
paraphrasing that a lot.
I love your answer, and I love the fact that it is creative magic. There's always a lot of, to me, it's always the thrill, right? And I'm an ex-art director. I still design stuff, and I always loved, doing the work and then going out on the production floor and seeing that platen swing around to the last spot, before the puller takes it off the press, and then seeing the final result. That was always really cool. And I always appreciate that. But what I appreciated more was seeing that effort out in the wild. Have you been to a stadium where you're surrounded by your work because you've done the shirts for the school, or seeing something at the mall or the grocery store and go, hey, I printed that. I designed that. That's always just really amazing to me, is to see stuff. Right. And
My heart skipped a beat when you said that, because I've been in Paris, France, in the Tuileries, and watched two of my Jimmy Buffett's Caribbean Soul shirts walk by. Two nice, attractive women too. I did not run up to them and say, "I printed that. I printed that." But
I would have.
it was a lot. That's how you get hit on the head or something. But it is amazing to see your stuff out in the wild.
Yeah, right. And I think for me, though, what I love about this industry, and I'm going to say the people, right? And it's the people that I've had the pleasure to work with at the companies that I was employed by. It's the people in this industry like you and Mark and Alan and other people that have certainly influenced my thinking and how I look at stuff. It's the vendors. I've had some really fantastic salespeople along the way that have really assisted me with my journey and my challenge in understanding and diagnosing problems and solving things. From Buddy Jolly with NASDAR in Atlanta. He was a major impact on me when I became vice president of operations, really helped me solve a bunch of stuff. I remember when we started doing some work for Under Armour, and they gave us some ridiculously difficult shirts to print on because they were super stretchy. Him helping bring in Carl Busey to help me understand how to add stretch additive stuff and not dilute the color. Just really helped land that account. That was just really super amazing. Tom Robinson up with Midwest when I worked at Visual, he was another key figure. So it's just like there's just a lot of people along the way. Ray Smith is here and other people just have really helped out. And I think the knowledge and what I've always appreciated about this industry was that people are willing to share a lot of their bottled up genie magic into how to make things happen. And there's always a little thing that nobody really knows except this, I tried this once, you should try it too, kind of a thing. And then that makes everything just open up like a flower, just like, bam, here you go. That's the thing I really needed to push that design or that technique or that something forward. And that's always like the crazy cool thing to learn. And once you get that little nugget, that little gem, that's how you monetize and grow and learn and really make some really fantastic stuff happen, because you can do things that nobody else can't because now you know that one little thing, And so I've always appreciated that. And it's all from the people who are willing to share, right? And a lot of that is asking questions, and you have to be vulnerable enough to say, I don't know something, help me. And let's face it, Richard, a lot of people can't get past that. Right.
Yep.
So got some good questions. Answers here. Let's back up here. So
go back to Hurley.
What's up, dudes?
Oh.
Chris, he got that. I got it from the higher wreckage, right? That's pretty sad and funny.
Interestingly enough, the things that they burned, Norfolk Southern burned, were vinyl chloride and butyl acetate, popular chemicals in the plastisol world. They were probably going to poly. They were right there in the neighborhood, probably being delivered to Poly 1.
Well, just think about, those trains, those chemicals and other substances, they blow through our neighborhoods all the time, constantly, right? So you wonder, hey, how could that happen? Why are we letting this stuff through our neighborhoods? That's how that stuff gets transported, right? It's on a train. So
any bulk chemical, if it was orange juice and it went into a crash, 10,000 gallons of orange juice spilled out in Wyandotte, Michigan. At least they can't set that on fire to burn.
Well, the bees would be going crazy.
Yeah. We need more bees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hurley says high density inks. That's what he loves. Of course, you can see that by what he's doing, right? Ray says, I love that it's a craft disguised as big business. Ooh, I love that comment. That's nice.
It's a trade.
Yeah. Dean says being creative and being around other creatives and then being able to see your creativity come to life in a relatively quick time frame. That's good. William says, I've been able to pay the bills as an artist for over 30 years with screen printing. Yeah, it's been being able to monetize your creativity. You know, that's how I got into the business as an artist, right? So I started this crazy career. I wanted to not take out any student loans for my master's degree. So I started a t-shirt company to pay for school, right? Back before computers, a long time ago. Seriously, Low, I love the creativity that is endless. Thanks, Chris. Ray says, also, I love that it's the power of science in the hands of an artist. Sound familiar? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, ripping on Apocalypse Now here. The smell of discharge ink in the morning. That's great. Dean says, also love the seamlessly endless opportunity to grow and expand the craft. It's an industry that's been around for nearly the dawn of man and continues to get advancements in all facets. That's great. Glenn's here. Hey, guys. Another Academy member.
Glenn.
How's it going? Chris says too soon. Not sure what that is a reference to. Heather's here. Looking forward to seeing you next week. I totally agree with that statement. I think it's going to be tons of fun.
Hello, Heather.
And crazy scary. So, meaning about the Ohio derailment. Okay. Sorry. All right, cool. So, you know, what else do I love about the industry? I don't know. I think a lot of times it's seeing where it's going to go, the anticipation. Like right now, what's going to happen with artificial intelligence generated art? I spent, I don't know, 2 hours the other day on Midjourney down that rabbit hole. And I'm like, okay, I have to stop right now because I got things to do. But it's like, okay, one more upgrade. Let's see what happens when you click the button, right? And it's just so fascinating what's going on with that. And then how can you use that with what you do? I think it's just amazing, right? So anyway, you know, so
I think anything that's adopted technology, any art that's adopted technology,
yeah,
because my mother scoffed at people that did not do handwriting because she was a calligrapher. So you'd be able to typeset in an italic font if you want to do, you know, envelopes or place cards for a wedding. You know, will people still pay for handwritten stuff, or will people pay for something that's been done by hand? That's part of the quality. People laughed at Andy Warhol, you know, when he was doing simple thumb, but you know, I think it will adopt because it's just new technology.
Yeah. So the way I've been explaining it to people, it's kind of like one of these, right? It's the art version of the calculator, right? So there's still people that can do the math in their head, right? But there's like people like me that need a calculator because it's just easier and we want the right answer, right? So it's just a tool. So how are we using the tool? That's what's really interesting, right? So you know, it doesn't replace the people that are, you know, they can do the math. It's just an easier way of getting the right answer. So,
and when we look, computer generated art looks like computer generated art.
Yeah, sure.
Because those,
some of it does, you know, so it's like if you go to Midjourney and start looking through because it's chat room based, right? So you can start looking at what people are doing, right? I see, you know, there's different types of drawing looks, there's different types of whatever, and you know, some of that is painterly style, some of it is, it just depends on the prompts that you're using. That's what really makes it interesting, and I think what we can for this industry, what can we extract and pull out of that and apply it to what we do? I think that's really going to be the real interesting thing, because trying some prompts out, came up with just some ridiculously stupid looking things that we'll never use ever, right? And but that's how you learn, right? So that's the whole beauty of just goofing around with it. So
I predict there'll be separation things that can happen. That you'll get
there's going to be there already
artwork.
Yeah, because it's not going to add your text in there. It's not going to but where I think the clip art services, those are over. Right? Like, why would you use that? Right? Because now I can get something that's custom. If I can figure out how to use the art generator, I can have something that's completely new that's nobody ever seen before and apply it to my commercial thing that I want. That's where I think this is heading, right? And that's what I love about it, is the future of how I can, what the application stuff, where's that going? By the way, we're going to have a Shirt Lab workshop with Michelle Moxley Ruby in a couple months on this very topic. And that's April, I think. I'm not sure on the date, but anyway, so look for that soon, because we're building that out right now, and I think that's going to be a really good discussion. So
in anticipation, people should go to the Ink Kitchen and look at Michelle Moxley's show that she did at the ISS show in Long Beach last month, and she shows where she put in a few prompts. She wanted a woman in a leotard or something to look like a devil or something. And I thought it was terrific art that was made in literally 30 seconds. And there were 3 or 4 or 5 versions. I think there's real use for it that I don't see as so scary. But there are people that are having their styles stolen.
Sure.
So if you look at something and it looks like it was done like Andy Warhol, that's a style. If you look at something that looks like Edward Hopper, that is absolutely going to happen. It's a different kind of stealing. You're stealing a style, just like you can write like Hemingway. Maybe not like Hemingway, but in that essence, that style.
There's a Hemingway text editor.
Yeah.
So I mean, what are you going to do, right? So I think it poses lots of interesting discussions, possible legal challenges, but let me tell you, Picasso's famous quote, do you know the quote? Good artists copy, great artists steal. So, it's like this isn't something new, right? We've been talking about this for a long time, right? And if you look at art movements, right? One artist influences another. That's been going on since we were screwing around with what to put on the cave wall, right? So, I mean, it's just the same song, just different notes, I think. So
30 years ago, with the introduction of graphic computers, you could tell, oh, that looks like a computer did that art. It wasn't cut by hand. It wasn't drawn by hand. We've certainly gotten over that.
Yeah, right. So where are we on our thing? So Chris says crazy scary. Davis is here. Hey guys. Says I was an artist for 10 years before I picked up a squeeze.
Uh-oh. I'm canceled. So if I'm still in the show, Marshall, I assume, will come back.
I'm here.
So Hurley was saying, and Marshall's back.
I'm here. I don't know what happened.
You just disappeared. I'm the one with my network troubles.
Yeah. So this is how we know we're live.
So going back to Hurley.
This is the Carol Burnett show. Things happen, right? So anyway, so Scott says, I love their freedom to be creative. Plus, it pays for my motorcycle racing. Yes. Good subject for the future. How did you fall into screen printing? Yeah, I love it. Well, that's another one we could talk about. I've been using Midjourney all week. I have a plan to use that tool as a new business avenue. AI is perfect for DTG. It is. Also DTF. So not just DTG. Ray's here, another Academy member. Good to see you. Greetings, Screenlings. Using weighted text and seeds is a nice tip and one to look into. I've also been doing endless hours of AI research this week. It's crazy and still so new. By the way, somebody gave me a thing called, where is it? Prompt Base. Prompt Base is a new service that you can sign up for, and they actually have different prompts that you can use to get the results that you want, and they charge you a fee to know what that prompt is. So there's already businesses based on prompts. So I thought, and you can sell, you got a good prompt, you can sell your prompt on Prompt Base. So already people doing that. Crazy. Sean's here.
Past Glenn.
And Aliens got Marshall. Yeah. Blame the Gooches on Chinese spy balloons. Yes, that's what it was. Chinese spy balloon. Right. All right. So anyway, so if you're just joining us, please chat and put in the comments what you love about the industry. We really want to know your opinion. So don't just be a lurker. Throw something in there. That's what we're going to do. But we're going to switch to our next topic, which is an acronym, right? Richard, do you remember what the acronym is for this?
I should. Facts? No.
No. You ready?
Yes.
It's false evidence appearing real, right? So I forget where I learned this. It could be Mark Coudray, but maybe it's a book. I don't know. But I learned this acronym somewhere. And I think a lot of times we're afraid of doing something because we think there's going to be danger or the apocalypse or some bad thing's going to happen. So we talk ourselves into not doing something. So this could be in sales where we don't want to call a particular customer because, oh, they'll never buy from me, right? Or we don't want to ask that girl out because, oh, she'll make fun of me, she'll reject me or whatever. So the false evidence appearing real thing, it happens all the time. And I'll never be a good cook, so I'm not going to learn how to bake bread or barbecue or whatever, right? So there's plenty of examples in our lives where we talk ourselves out of doing something because we think there's going to be something dangerous at the end of that, or it won't work or whatever, right? And I can tell you that I'm guilty of that. I don't do things because I think it's not going to work. But let me tell you, sometimes you just jump off the cliff and you build the airplane on the way down and it works out. You know, Shirt Lab, by the way, is a prime example of that, right? Where Tom and I just took a risk and did it. Of course, we put some safeguards in there and we wrote a business plan and we got some help and we rely on people and all that stuff, but we didn't start it. We did not start it because we're scared of something that would happen or wouldn't happen. We just did it anyway. And thanks, by the way, for everyone who has ever done anything with Shirt Lab. We couldn't have done it without you. But I want to throw this out here because I think a lot of times folks, especially in this industry, don't do something because it's fear-based, right? Have you had any examples of this, Richard, where maybe some of your customers or maybe even you yourself have example of fear where we're not doing something because we're scared of what could possibly happen?
So a lot of this is self-limiting, which is of course good because we've had our grandmothers telling us, be careful, you could trip, be careful, don't run with scissors. And a lot of this is people controlling us because they're afraid for us, and they build that into us because they also don't teach us how to deal with risk. So I've mentioned this many times that I grew up riding motorcycles and bicycles and operating tractors well before I should have been old enough or certainly could not operate them on a regular road. But I did it under the guise of of my supervisors, my uncles and parents, etc. Yes, I did crash a few cars without even having left the property, but I think learning how to assess risk and going through the logic of assessing the risk and being aware, self-aware is being something we talk about all the time, Marshall, that if you're self-aware that, my intuition tells me this is a dark alleyway, it's 3 a.m, I've had a few too many drinks, I'm not walking down there, I'm going to get a cab or walk around the block where there's light. I'm not going to take the shortcut. The shortcut is across the ice. Is the ice thin or not? So if we don't know, maybe that's a good thing for you to check. So there's all sorts of ways you can still get across, maybe not just blunder through blindly.
Yeah, I love those 2 points too. So I think you're exactly right. We should have a little bit of caution. We should research more. That's really good, right? Have you ever talked yourself out of doing something and then kicked yourself in your own pants later?
I've made a lot of decisions that I wish I'd done things differently, but we never know until we take that path. Because if you overthink, I saw a meme on the internet just yesterday, and it was overthinking was stirring a glass so it was cloudy. Where if you sit still and think about it, or if you move forward, you get through the cloud. You know right away if you've gone the wrong direction. So ladies that make jokes about men that don't use maps, hey, I love the maps. I've always had maps right in front of me because I don't want to waste time figuring it out. That's why we ask for advice from professionals. That's why we ask for advice for our friends. That if you're feeling uncertain, your friends is who you call. What do you think I should do? Now, it's not taking action that is what's going to kill your life. Now, if you jump out of an airplane, you say, what was I forgetting? What was I forgetting? Oh, the parachute. That's a different kind of mentality. Right. And so a lot of people jump without a parachute.
Right. Well, a perfect example, I used the whole shirt lab thing earlier as an example of building the airplane on the way down. We started with a business plan. And before we actually put any money in the bank, we had lots of discussions and a business plan and how would we work and here's the research and what is it going to cost and how could we do it. And we did all that prep work and research first, but we didn't let the fact that there were other things, other entities, whatever, doing what we wanted to do to stop us from doing it. We just did it anyway, right? So, and
one of the biggest things
our Columbus event, which I believe you attended, if I remember correctly, that was our proof of concept, right? And that sold out, right? And it was lots of fun, and so that was like one of these things where we don't know what's going to happen. Let's just do it. Let's see if we can make it work, right? And but we did do. We did do some research and figure it out before we actually put money in a bank account to start the business. So,
one of the biggest things I got from Fix This Next by Mike Michalowicz was just the principle of people are spending money they don't have. And that just seems like a simple way to put it, but an analysis of your business and doing the P&Ls, the things that you talked about with the Profit First accountant yesterday on the netcast that you did.
Yeah.
I've forgotten her name again. Say her name.
Ian Price Murphy.
So the idea that when you do an analysis, you can't afford to do the things that you're doing, whether it's buying a piece of equipment or just to have that many employees or get that kind of pay that sort of a rent. You can't afford to do that. There's a fear that could be based on that you've dug yourself into a dangerous hole because you weren't aware of what you were doing. Mm-hmm. But you did it anyway. So that's how so many businesses go under because you didn't understand what you were doing.
Right. Yeah. got some good comments. Let's see. Ray says, what I love about the industry is that there are no end to what is being screen printed and what can be screen printed. The very best new technology is usually developed by testing a theory to see how it fails. That's great. Love that. He always has the great insight. Gavin says, true. Ghosta says, remember that a lone amateur built the Ark. A large group of professionals built the Titanic. There you go. That's great.
Designed by committee.
Yeah, Lakeisha says, great topic. And she was on the webinar yesterday. So good to see you 2 days in a row. Thanks. Glenn says, if it falls into the what if, and it usually falls to a negative. Richard hit the point. Be rational. I definitely think way too much. And Dean says, ha ha ha, spending money you don't have, the American way, living on credit. Great. Okay, cool. So we're about midway, a little past. Yep. So it's time to pay some more bills here. So we want to talk about GSG, who's our sponsor. Want to thank them very much. And their website is gogsg.com. We would love for you to go check them out. And then here is the thing we want to show today, which is, why isn't it working? Oh, you know why? Is because I left for a minute. Hold on. I got to reshare my screen. That's why it's not working. There we go. So we want to talk about the rolling TrueViz today. So I know a lot of you guys have these wide format printers, and I just want to let you guys know that GSG is a great place for that. And and this is a really good printer. So if you're interested in doing more signs and stickers and all types of things with that, this would be something you should be looking at. And GSG is a great place for that. And you can call your local branch, or maybe you don't have a GSG branch that's near you. You can go to the website and check them out. And that's at gogsg.com, right? And so, Richard, do you have any experience using a wide format printer?
None at all.
Me either, but I think this is a good thing. I know a lot of my clients have these, and they actually have these printers, and I know they're really successful with them. So check them out. And I think the apparel version of the Pulse will be out next week, and we can get back to talking about t-shirt stuff. But in the meantime, check out the Roland wide format printer if that's something you're interested in. So there you go. All right. Back to our regular scheduled event. And the next thing, you had a book to show up? You wanted to show?
I pulled Fix This Next off the, look, it's yellow. It doesn't show up on the green screen.
Oh, okay.
Here, maybe this will do it that way. No.
All
right. Fix This Next.
I have that book somewhere. Where is that? It's back there behind me somewhere. I'm not going to go get it. So our next topic is really about know your numbers. And the reason I want to talk about this was yesterday, we had a really great webinar with Ian Price Murphy on for Shirt Lab on basic, simple profitability kind of discussion. And it's all about knowing your numbers. And so this was, she is a certified profit first professional. And she was really kind of laying it out about how really understanding your numbers can help you build a better business, because without knowing that stuff, without knowing your numbers, it's really hard to kind of ascertain where you are and what you should do next, right? So, but that's really accounting, but we could also apply this to our production numbers. How fast are we doing something? How many can we do it? What are we doing? What's the yield? How many errors do we have? There's an endless amount of things that we can track. And if you kind of take the idea, which I have over the years, where everything can have a number, and what is a good number and what is a bad number? For example, how many sales calls did you make yesterday? Was it 2? Was it 10? like how many should you have made, right? And that's always kind of an interesting thing when we talk about sales, we talk about production, we talk about whatever. If you can assign a number value to it and really kind of think where your goal is, at a minimum, you should be doing this every day or every week or every quarter or every year or whatever. What should that good number be? And it's kind of a binary thing. Either it's pass or fail, or you hit it or you don't, and kind of look at if we're over the number and it's good, how did we do that? If we're under the number and it's bad, what do we need to do to catch up, right? So I know you're kind of a numbers guy, Richard. So what do you think about this topic?
Well, there's always a simple number that you can give to new employees or a first starting number. And then you can start to work on refinement. So with almost all employees, they could start by just using a simple calendar. The one that I happen to have here on my desk is from 1993. So perhaps it's a little out of date, but a little calendar like that you can get from the dollar store for $2. And you could write down the number of shirts that you printed today. Not so much the number of screens or how many colors, because that's like a secondary refinement of the numbers. How many screens did you do today? But as you brought up, Marshall, when we were talking about this beforehand, yes, we put out 50 screens today, but the shop needed 100. So that's a secondary assessment, but it's analysis and seeing what you can do to refine what should you actually be counting and what is overthinking. What doesn't matter? I constantly see things that come up on the internet and they're describing why something won't work. So I saw one this morning and it was, gee, why isn't this printing? And the man described 50 or 16 things about why, what he was actually doing, the mesh count, who he bought the emulsion from, the shirt, et cetera, everything but the mesh tension, which is clearly what was wrong with this thing. And you could tell the guy was needing help, not scolding, but focusing on what comes first.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. So think about this. So if you're watching this right now, what are you measuring? And I think that's like at the bottom of all your emails, isn't it, Richard? Or is it, what are you reading? What is it? Is you measuring or reading?
How are you measuring that? Because
how are you measuring that? I knew it was something about that, right? So
it's my third diagnostic question. And usually they can't answer because they aren't measuring.
It's a trick question.
Well, no, it's meant to bring them into my Venus flytrap of questions.
Yeah, right.
Power questions.
Right. Okay. Where are we on the comments here? So, so Will says fear is a topic that isn't talked about enough. By the way, Will, did you get the help? I know he reached out to me the other day, asked for help, and I set him up with somebody. Just want to make sure that you're all good, right? So thank you for reaching out.
For every fear, there is a confidence builder. You just have to know the right person to tell you, because there's something to neutralize fear everywhere, everything.
Right. Sure. Mark says, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Love that. Glenn says, solid piece of gear. Love Roland's with the 2-year warranty. There you go. Brian says, Roland printers are great money makers. Totally agree. Dean says, best fact to share, the most important part of every business. If anyone can take away any key point from these weekly live shows, I know your numbers. Right. And Richard, that 1993 calendar will be usable again in 2027. Better not throw it out.
I love that Dean knows that. Perhaps he has too much time on his hands to figure that out.
You know what's amazing to me is that you have a 30-year-old calendar and you still have it. Oh, that's just great. By the way, are there things written in that calendar?
I'm looking to see what I was doing in 93.
So just turn to today in 1993 to see if anything's written.
I was in England. I was at the Bexley Post House, room number 32.
There you go. That's what you were doing on this day in 1993.
Because I was doing images, seminars for the Images magazine. that
Yeah.
you happen to write for nowadays.
Yeah, right. That's awesome.
When I've been in Holland. I've been in the Netherlands the day before. So,
Yeah, there you go. How about that, Gosta? What were you doing
well,
on this
Sweden.
day in 1993 in Sweden? So that's amazing. All right, cool. So I think how are you measuring? What are you measuring? It's a spreadsheet, it's a stopwatch, it's a yellow pad, it's a whiteboard. There's also software out there. If anybody wants to use Production Tracker, happy to help you with that. But I think knowing your numbers, I think, is really important. And because this is where growth comes from. This is where, is the work that we're doing on improving things actually working or not? And so this is key to a lot of things in a shop, right?
For employees, almost always it's the key to how you're going to get a raise. What are you watching? What is the boss watching? And just the whole idea that I used to be doing 50 screens a day. Now I do 55 screens a day with fewer rejects. It's proof of your accomplishment. Hint, hint, hint.
Exactly. Gosta says you're coming from a long hospital time. Okay, sorry to hear about that. Didn't want to bring up any bad memories, but all right. So our last topic today is pride of the work. So Richard, what do we mean by that?
I'm finding that a lot of people are not taking any real pride in their work. They're coming and doing the work. And of course, we're always looking for people that are more involved in what they're doing. And I most always usually get them involved in ordering supplies or fixing the equipment that they actually use, or knowing how the equipment works, or the fixing part is part of maintenance. And they're afraid to get near the machine because it's a big machine, but all those filters that need changing, all those vents that need cleaning on a regular basis, if you're getting somebody that's never used tools before and they take off the cover of the filter and they clean them, all of a sudden they're a little bit more involved with their equipment. And if they're cleaning it, and of course, you know what that means. Cleaning means a quote from 2 Second Lean, in which the great Paul Akers recommends that everybody start in their factory by accomplishing the cleaning of the bathrooms, the one room that everybody works in. I've worked at some lovely companies, such as Stretch Devices. I'll call them out because I wrote about this a long time ago. And Stretch Devices had the worst bathrooms I've ever been in ever. So, and there were people at Lawson Screen Products. Sorry, David and Ben. But there were guys that would not go to the bathroom. They would not sit down at Lawson because the bathrooms were just not their cup of tea.
Yeah,
So,
and I can tell you, and you probably have done this also, a way to judge a company when I do a shop visit is I go to not the executive bathroom up front, but the employee bathroom in the back to see how clean it is, because that usually shows the pride of the company. Because if your employees can find the trash can for the paper towels, I bet they can do other things too. Right? But when there's a trash can sitting there and all around the trash can are paper towels, they have problems everywhere else. And that's kind of a simple look that I look for sometimes. It's just, how clean is that bathroom? So
a lot of people are not going to do that on their own. And so helping them to understand by guiding them, an arm around the shoulder that says, do you know where the manual is? Because that's something, again, one of my diagnostic questions. Gee, where's the manual? And they go, I don't know. So the idea that they don't know where the manual is, are there QR codes or a sign that says the manual for this is in Marshall's office in drawer number 11? All it takes is something like that just points people where the answer is. Or, gee, can't have an extra manual? Shouldn't it be with the press right there? Because otherwise, they're going to figure that somebody else is supposed to fix it. And I always like getting the employees involved so that they have a sense of accomplishment. And it goes along with all sorts of principles of having the employees involved with where the workings of the company are. It's a different sort of accomplishment, because if it's our company versus, yeah, I work for the owner, he makes all that money with that cool car he's got, and I'm strictly, fodder for him to turn into grain.
Yeah. And let's think about the military. What's the first thing they teach you is how to make a bed, right? And they do that because if you can do a simple task, if we can train you how to do a simple task, this is how you learn to become a fighter pilot, is you're learning to do all these tasks, right? But it starts with the simple thing of here's how you make your bed. Here's how you put your pants on, and everything spills out from there, because they're teaching everybody in the military to do these really super complicated things. But in order to get to that, you got to start from, here's how you lace up your boots. Here's how you make your bed, right? So
this idea came to me because over the last couple of months, I've been getting a lot more accomplishment calls from my grandson, Grant. And he's calling me about what he learned about Machiavelli. He called me because of his discussion about why did Russia invade, why did I'm doing it backwards. Why did Russia invade Afghanistan and then the Americans? Didn't they learn anything from the Russians? Those sort of history lessons that he's learning about the outside world. This is a boy that used to bounce on my knee, and all of a sudden he's a lot more worldly, but he's proud of his accomplishments. The person that I also think of is a boy that I met in Jamaica that worked in a sewing factory. And he was so proud because all he did was fetch thread for the embroidery machines and the sewing machines. He had inventory and was proud of his book that he knew where every thread was, and he couldn't have been more than 15 or 16 years old. He was proud and he wanted to show off what he'd done, just like he caught a fish or made the big basket that won the game.
Yeah.
That's what I want from my employees.
Yeah. Well, you're the guy from the Anthony Bourdain book, the guy that was cleaning the fish, right?
Justo Thomas.
Yeah.
Justo.
Mm-hmm.
We told a story about, I told a story in, where were we? Chicago, at the Shirt Lab presentation in Chicago.
Right.
And Justo Thomas makes more money than a bank president, and he only works 5 hours a day, but he's the best fish butcher that anybody's ever seen.
Right.
And it's a great thing. Here. There you go. Chapter 18. My aim is true is the name of the chapter. Yeah. I think it's chapter 14, but it's 18 in the audio versions or something. I always get that backwards. And it's inspirational because he just does one thing and he does it better than anybody else in the world.
Yeah, there you go. Page 233, right here.
Okay. So, my aim is true.
Anyway, so think about how your team or you personally are taking pride in what you do. Do you just go through the motions? Do you phone it in? Does your team just show up? Do you have what I call clock punchers, which are just people who they're just here. They're just here for the paycheck. Or do you have people who are really interested in learning and growing? And, do you have who's on your team? And I think that really matters as far as how you're progressing and what's really happening on your shop floor. And there's some companies they just got a lot of clock punchers, and you as the owner can't. You often wonder why we have all these issues. Is because sometimes people just phone it in. They just don't care. There's no sense of accomplishment or pride. And that's because that's who you've allowed on your team. Or you're not motivating them to care, right? So think about how you're doing that, right? So really kind of a good discussion with that. So
I believe a lot of it also comes back to training, basic training. You mentioned the military before, and part of the training is here's how we clean up this area. And of course, 2-second lean. You can't go wrong. A free book, a free audio. The audio version is better than the reading of the book itself.
Yeah.
You need both because they're free. paulakers.net.
All right. So Glenn left. See you later, Glenn. And then Agosta says, if you have an automatic, you don't need a manual. I think he was talking about our manual discussion there. Chris says, I find having passion in what you do makes it easier to have pride in your work. Yes, 100%. Some people, though, do not have passion in the work. They're just here. So I know, and I've had those people work for me before, right? And, so they're always kind of a challenge to deal with, right? And so to me, I like replacing those people when I can. So.
The Navy speak up.
Brian says day 6 of Navy boot camp was putting your name on your uniforms. Those who messed up had to cross it out, and if it was over the wrong pocket, and wear it throughout boot camp. So, Brian, how embarrassing was that for you? I'm just kidding. So, anyway, that's a good comment, Brian. I like that. Right. So, in I guess Navy boot camp, I guess, is that in the one that's in Chicago, right? Isn't that where the Navy boot camp
Great
is?
Lakes.
Yeah. So
North of Chicago.
Right. All right. Well, cool. Hey, we have just enough time to mention the Shirt Lab workshop, Chat GPT best practices. And let me dial that up here real quick if I can get to the right thing. So this is going to be on February the 28th. It's at 3:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is going to feature me as really the host. A lot of the work of the heavy lifting on this is being done by Allie and Tom, who are really using Chat GPT to revolutionize a lot of their language they're using in their business. And they're going to show you with examples of how they've done it, how they use it for multiple different areas. I think it's going to be really an informative thing. It's $37. If you're a member of Shirt Lab Tribe, of course, it's free. For everybody else, we have a small fee. But and that's because we want you guys to join Shirt Lab Tribe, right? So, but it's going to be on February the 28th at 3. I think it's going to be great. We have a whole bunch of people who've already signed up for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're busy putting that together right now. So show up on the last day of the month and learn something. This is a Tuesday. Normally we do our things on Thursdays, but we're doing a Tuesday this time. So I think it'll be great. And so get tickets, just click right there. And if you remember Shirt Lab Tribe, the coupon code is plastered in our circle area, but also on Facebook. So anyway, so that's that. So Richard, what are you doing this weekend? You got big plans?
Definitely working on a factory rebuild right here in the Detroit area. So we're working over the weekend to rebuild the kitchen-y area.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it's plumbing, because I'll finally be able to get water into the screen making area. They still haven't cut the holes into the floor. They're getting around to it, they say.
Right.
So we're going to have a discussion.
The jackhammer out and making the trough to put the pipe in. Are they doing? They have to start that stuff.
Just haven't gotten to my area. They've redone the bathrooms, and now they're going through a third wall. So it's just detail. But we're doing it on the weekend. So great on the weekend.
Yeah, cool. Right. So my son Jack's in town from college. He came in last night, and so we got family stuff. That's what's going on in our house. So
let me put my own advertisement in. Any of the things that I mentioned, I rattled off an awful lot of books. Or if you're looking for something to read, I am the librarian. I love it when somebody asks me to go fetch something from the library. So I encourage you to be bold and ask. Don't have fear. If you're looking for something to read or spread around with your employees, I am that guy.
And Richard, what's your email real quick?
rgreaves@gmail.com.
There you go. You heard it right there. So reach out. Two more comments and then we'll jump off. So Braden says, I'm using Chat GPT right now along with Jasper while we speak. They're game changers. That's awesome. And Hurley says, great show. Have a great weekend, fellas. Thank you for watching again. And we'll see you guys next week. And take care. Have a great weekend. See ya.